So setting up guides is going to be something that's important for all of your projects and all of the work you do in Illustrator and in Photoshop as well. So I'm going to do a quick video tutorial here on setting up your guides for the icons project. And I have a page already set up with some guides on it just to give us a preview of where we're going. And now I'm going to clear those guides. I'll go to View from the main menu and scroll down to Guides, Clear Guides, and get rid of them, and we can start over. So the first thing is to have your guides, you need to have your rulers up. So if you don't see your rulers, go to View and choose Rulers again, and that's also how you can get rid of them. And now what I really suggest for your icon project, because you're thinking about a grid, is start with some paper and pencil and sketch out a bunch of different kinds of grids. You have 16 icons. They have the requirement that they have to be within a 1.5 by 1.5 inch space. I believe that's what it says on Blackboard. If I'm not right, just go with what's on Blackboard. And you need to have a paragraph block of text that could span some of the columns that are created by this grid. So sketch out a couple of different options. If you have 2 columns with several of the icons, and then 2 half columns, and then with the paragraph down below it, or so on and so forth, sketch out a bunch of different options, and then you're going to open up and create a new file in Illustrator and start setting up your guides. So let's say, for example, if I have on my paper is 8.5 inches wide, and I want to have 3 columns of icons here. So each icon is going to be 1.5 inches. So I want to have some even spacing, and I already kind of thought out these numbers. What I would need to have is 1 inch of a margin on the ends, and then I'm going to have 1.5 inches for one of my icons, and then 1 inch in between the 3 different columns here. So it would be my 2-inch space in between. So I'm going to start with my vertical icons, and by clicking on my vertical ruler and clicking, and I just drag over and stopping where it says 1 inch, and that gives me my first guide. And I'm going to repeat again, and now this time I'm going to move over 1.5 inches, and this is going to be the space I'm creating for my icon. And I can now create my horizontal one, and I'm going to click into my horizontal ruler and drag it down. And I could have a 1 inch margin at the top. It doesn't have to be. You can design that yourself, and it could be less, it could be 1/2 inch, it could be more, 1.5 inches. You just have to be able to fit all 16 icons onto the page. And so now I'm going to drag this down so I have my 1.5 inch space here. And so this is where my first icon would go. And I'm going to move along and move my guide 1 inch over, so that's going to be my space in between my icons. And now I'll create the 1.5 inch for my icon. So this is where my second icon would go. I'll just continue on, make my 1 inch margin here. And you can also use your arrow keys if you can't get it on your keyboard, if you can't get it exactly in the right space. And then move it over 1.5 inches. And that leaves me with 1 inch over here. So I have 1 inch of space in between each one of my icons. Now, I'd want to continue down, and I'd want to think about the space in between my rows as well. So maybe I want to have another 1 inch, or maybe I want less. I want 1/2 inch, so I'd put a guide there. And then I would put my next guide down here 1.5 inches lower. And so this is where my next icon would go. So you can start to see the grid structure happening here. Now, if you want, you can put your icons into boxes with a black stroke of about 1, I would suggest. You don't have to. You could simply, if you look at the next tutorial where I'm creating some icons of fruit, you could just take the icon and put it into one of these. But if you wanted to do that, I would suggest using the rectangular tool and no fill and just a stroke of 1 pixel. And just click and drag it out. And I'm not using a mouse, I'm using the pad, which is why sometimes it gets a little slow. And I can always go up here and make that exactly 1.5 in value of width and height. And then once I've done that, hold the Alt key down and drag this out and put it into its next spot where the next icon would go. And again, I could use my mouse keys, my arrow keys on my keyboard to get this exact. And I also have my smart guides on. to be able to make sure I'm aligning everything. This time I'm just going to use my arrow keys. It's easier than the scrolling pad. And now I have my little boxes set up so I can put my icons into them. And if I don't want to see the guides anymore, I can go back up to View and choose Guides, Hide Guides. And now I can start to see my page and the grid structure without having to see the lines. Okay, so this should help you get set up for working with this project and any project where you have to work with your grids. Just things to remember, have your rulers there first, and you go up to View from the main menu to see your rulers, and also to be able to see your guides or to hide them or to lock them, you go under View again and to Guides.